Hello, and welcome to a Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness video, where today we will be tackling the game with the Aggron line. And this is also the second video of Spooky Month, so if you have any suggestions for spooky Pokemon, please put them down below. Anyway, with that being said, I think Aggron will do fairly well. It has a few good things going for it, such as its stats. They are 50 HP, 70 attack, 100 defense, 40 special attack, 40 special defense, and 30 speed, and gets access to mostly normal type moves, but it does get a good amount of type coverage in ice, fire, steel, electric, fighting, and most importantly, it gets access to the move Earthquake, which is really good. But unfortunately, most of these coverage types are special attacking types, so it's not going to be able to use them too effectively. So it might be an issue later on down the road, but for now, it's nice to have them. Anyway, with that, let's go ahead and get right into it. Our Aron has an impish nature, raising its defense and lowering its special attack, which really isn't that great because it already has such a high defense stat. And because we're lowering its special attack, that means that those coverage moves aren't going to be nearly as useful. But I guess it could be worse. It gets the Rock Head ability, which prevents recoil damage, so it's okay for moves like Double Edge. And according to Bulbapedia, by level 10, it gets access to Tackle, Harden, Mudslap, and Headbutt. Headbutt being the most important of all these because it's a 70 power based move that has a chance to flinch, so it's really good for the start of the game. Anyway, usually to just show off a weaker Pokemon how they're going to do early on, I usually use this fight because the Abra is a fast threat that has a whole bunch of different special attacking types. And I got frozen first attempt and lost. Okay, well anyway, this battle is usually a struggle for any Pokemon that is going to be weaker, and as you can see there, because of my low special defense, that Water Gun actually did a ton of damage to me. But luckily I'm able to take down the Horsey this time, and I go for another Headbutt into the Abra, which probably will one-shot. It does. And then it's just the Shroomish left, which does have Effect Spore, so it could actually be a threat with me just using Headbutts into it, but that's alright. I use another Headbutt, takes it down very low, and then it actually takes down Teddiursa, but I'm able to take it down. Anyway, with that, we move on, and at level 13, we learn our first stab move, Metal Claw, which is going to be pretty decent. And of course, we get to the Power Rangers here. Now, I decide to attempt the Poison Trainer first because I'm immune to all their poison moves because I'm a Steel type. And so I thought this battle wouldn't be too hard. The problem is that the Gulpin is doing a decent amount of damage. And it is incredibly tanky and faster than me, so I'm not able to flinch it, and eventually I lose. So I go with the old tried and true Ranger, which is the Brown Ranger, and that's because he just leads with a Baltoy and a Hoot. And the Hoot really isn't going to do any damage to me, and the Baltoy, it's still faster than me, but it's not going to be doing nearly as much damage. So I'm able to take it down in just a few hits, and I actually get an attack raise from the Metal Claw, which is nice. And I'm able to take it down. And then it's just the Hoot left, but it definitely can't take me down from half health with it only doing 1 damage per hit, so after just a couple hits, I'm able to beat this trainer, and I go inside the facility. Now at level 25, I get access to the move Takedown, which isn't all that accurate, but it does a decent amount of damage, so I'm going to teach it over Mudslap, because Mudslap isn't all that great anymore. And usually I would just go straight to the Laverna fight, but Naps here was actually quite a threat, and that's because if Murkrow can flinch me with Astonish, that means that the Rhydon can actually hit me with Mudslap, lowering my accuracy. And so I was stuck in this battle for quite a while, just because I had bad flinch luck and bad miss luck. And as you can see here, I actually decided to try using Call to raise my accuracy once again. But as I'll find out pretty soon, it's all in vain because the Murkrow actually had a hidden move up its sleeve that it wasn't showing yet. I go for takedown, and I'm not even able to take down the Murkrow at this level. So after another level, and with a bit more luck, I'm actually able to take down this fight on the next attempt. But anyway, we move on to the first boss of the game, which is Laverna. She leads with a Love Disc and a Beautifly, and the Love Disc is faster than me, and the Beautifly's faster than me, so I'm already down about a third of my health. Takedown doesn't take down the Love Disc. Absorbs, not really doing too much damage to me, but it's still damage. Out comes Roselia, and I go for Headbutt into it so that I can flinch it, but unfortunately it's faster than me, so that's not going to work, and Headbutt's not enough to take it down. Anyway, Mega Drain takes me down, so that's not going to work. So I do a bit of leveling, and at level 29 I get access to the move Iron Tail, which I teach over Iron Defense. Which, I don't know if I was ever going to use Iron Defense actually. Anyway, we go into the battle once again. Now with a few more levels, I'm actually able to take down the Love Disc. And Absorb really isn't doing that much damage. Takedown can now actually beat the Roselia, and then out comes Delcatty. Now I know a Takedown won't actually beat it, so I go for Iron Tail, which is only 75% accurate. But with Stab, it does a ton of damage, and after a couple headbutts, I'm able to take down the Beautifly. And that is Laverina on the 4th attempt. So, not too bad. Of course, you can't have a Pokemon XD Gale Darkness video without the obligatory Mirror B. Hello, Mirror B. Anyway, soon after that, at level 32, my Aron evolves into a Lairon, which is going to help quite a bit because I was starting to feel really weak. Anyway, for base stats, Lairon has 60 HP, 90 attack, 140 defense, 50 special attack, 50 special defense, and 40 speed. So it didn't really gain too much in any of its other stats other than its defense, where it gained 40 points, which is nice, being able to survive attacks a little better, but unfortunately it's still really slow and can't really take special attacks very well, so that might come back to hurt us later. But for now, I appreciate the evolution, and we move on to the Real Gam Tower, where I go pick up my two favorite TMs, which are Hidden Power and Protect, and I'm going to ignore Hidden Power for now because I don't think it's going to be all that useful. And we go on to the next boss of the game, which is Snaddle. I go for Takedown into Lantern, but unfortunately it's not a one-shot, and I'm already down really low because of a crit, and because I came into this battle already hurt. Headbutt's able to take down the Lantern though. I level up. Out comes Lunatone. And unfortunately I do get taken down here, and that's the first attempt. Now luckily we are only 2 levels away from evolving once again, so I decide to do a little bit of training and then go back into the fight, now that we have our Aggron. But of course Aggron has new stats. So it has 70 HP, 110 attack, 180 defense, 60 special attack, 60 special defense, and 50 speed. Really not addressing the issues on the special side, but giving me quite a bit of attack and defense is okay, I guess. Now, unfortunately, I haven't really mentioned it up until this point, but Rock and Steel has 2 4x weaknesses to Fighting and Ground, which are both on the physical side, so at least my 180 defense will stop those, with its only other weakness being Water, as you can see here. Anyway, moving on, at level 42, I go back into the battle. I go for Takedown, which is a one-shot on Lantern now. Out comes Lunatone. Rock Tomb lowers my speed, so now I am slower than the Lunatone, unfortunately, so it's able to set up Shadow Sky. I go for a Metal Claw to take it down. Another Rock Tomb. Shadow Sky comes down, doing damage to everything. I go for our Headbutt here. And surprisingly, it's not enough to take down Cast Form, even after a Shadow Sky. But a second one does take it down. And I level up to level 43. Out comes Matang. I go for Iron Tail here because it is my strongest move in general. And it does not even take down the Quagsire. Okay. And I'm getting fairly low. Thunder Punch gets a crit and takes me down low enough to where Water Gun takes me out. Okay. Well, you know how I said Hidden Power really wasn't all that useful at this point? I looked into it. Apparently my Hidden Power type is Grass, which is really useful because that should be able to take down the Quagsire. So I go back into the battle with my newfound knowledge, and I take down the Lantern once again. I already know that Lunatone's a one-shot, so I take it down. Out comes Cast Form, and another Rock Tomb will make me slower than the Cast Form now. I go for a Metal Claw into Cast Form because it's going to do a little bit more damage, which should guarantee a one-shot. Out comes Matang once again. And I go for double edge into Matang this time because I got rid of Iron Tail for hidden power. And I get paralyzed, which is a little unfortunate, but I'm doing just about half. And luckily the Shadow Sky will probably take the Matang down far enough to where it will be able to get one shot. So, and the water guns start coming out. I go for takedown, and I get a crit anyway, which is nice. And one more set of Fruity Pebbles, and I think it'll be gone. And now I go for Hidden Power, which didn't actually turn out to be a one-shot on Quagsire, despite it being 4 times weak to it. Anyway, before this next area, I'm going to go ahead and teach Ice Beam over Hidden Power, because Ice is just a better type for all the Pokemon coming up. Anyway, we go into our battle against Gonzap. He uses Fake Out on the first turn and Spark, which basically guarantees that I'm going to be paralyzed because I am slower than the Electrode. And surprisingly, I didn't get paralyzed from Spark, I got paralyzed from Contact, which is unfortunate. Giga Drain doesn't really do too much to me. I go for Ice Beam, which it hangs on by a sliver, which is unfortunate. Giga Drain brings it up just a little, but not enough to actually take another headbutt. Out comes Whiscash. Now this thing will probably be able to attack more than once. Rock Tomb, really not that bad. I go for takedown, and yeah, it's not a one-shot. I go for a headbutt now because it's got higher accuracy, and it just went for a second Rock Tomb. So it goes down, and then out comes his final Pokemon, which is Skarmory. Now, luckily I do have Ice Beam to at least do neutral damage to it. So I get paralyzed, Steel Wing, and I go for another Ice Beam, and I get paralyzed. Okay. Steel Wing, Feint Attack. Yeah, Ice Beam hits, doing over half, that's good. Another Ice Beam. And it hits, and I take down the Skarmory. Okay, well all that's left is the Nuzleaf, and it can't really do anything to me. So I'm able to take it down with relative ease, and that's Gonzap on the second attempt. Yeah, I skipped the first one. Anyway, at the top of the tower, I'm able to learn the move Earthquake, which I'm going to teach right away, and soon after I teach Protect over Swagger, which the only reason I had Swagger was to hit the Shedinja. Anyway, we move on to the next battle against Gorgon, and I go for Headbutt on the first turn, hoping for a flinch, which I do get on the Celio, and an Earthquake takes both of them down. And then once again I use Headbutt into the attacking Pokemon, hoping for a flinch, but I don't get it, and Earthquake's really not doing too much damage to me. So I use an Earthquake again, take down the Slowking, but don't quite take down the Ursaring, which is a little unfortunate. Good thing it only goes for Slash, it could have gone for Brick Break. The Primeape is faster than me, so you can use the Shadow Storm, and it survives on a Sliver, which is really unfortunate as well. Out comes Hypno, which I'm almost guaranteed to not be able to take down in a single hit. So I take down the Primeape, and yeah, Hypno wasn't going to go down to a single Earthquake. Luckily I'm faster than it, so I don't need to worry about losing, and I take it down. Now, before we move on to the final area of the game, I'm going to teach Double Edge over Headbutt. And that's because even though Headbutt's flinch chance is really nice, I'd rather just have the stronger attack at this point, because Double Edge is 120 base power and doesn't miss. So anyway, before we get on to the next fight, hello Aron. Goodbye Aron. Anyway, Lavrina sends out a Gardevoir and a Gorbis, and I go for Earthquake here, which actually does take them both down, which is good. Now if you notice, I am a female, so Roselia is definitely the bigger threat here because it could use Attract on me and make it so I don't attack at all. And out comes Altaria. On top of that, Shadow Panic doesn't hit all that often. Unfortunately, it does hit here, so I am confused now, and I hit myself in confusion. It sets up Shadow Sky, which is going to make it so I can't heal anymore. Shadow Rave's doing actually quite a bit of damage to me, and I hit myself again, and Shadow Break takes me down really low, and Fruity Pebbles come down, and Shadow Rave finishes me off with a crit. Okay, well, not a good first attempt, but obviously with a little better luck, I'll be able to do this fairly easily. Anyway, same strategy as before, take down the Roselia, and then it's just the Farfetch'd and the Altaria. And as you can see here, I actually avoid the move this time, and I take down the Farfetch'd. And then Altaria I have Ice Beam for, so it's not a threat at all, and I beat Liverina's second attempt. Anyway, at the top of the mountain, I run into Snaddle once again, and I go for Double Edge into the Quagsire. And that's because this is the second attempt. Originally I used Earthquake on the first turn, but the problem is that that brings out the Soul Rock here, and the Soul Rock's definitely more annoying to deal with the Scizor. But luckily, because I can't one-shot the Soul Rock, it's going to set up Shadow Sky and take down the Scizor itself. So anyway, Pretty Pebbles rain down, and then out comes Cast Form, which really isn't too big of a threat. It is, but it's not. And I go for another Ice Beam to take down the Soul Rock. I do actually get a lucky crit there. I'm not sure if it would have one-shot otherwise. Water Pulse comes out, as long as it doesn't confuse. And it confuses. Okay, well that's a bit annoying, but an Earthquake should take them both down. As long as I don't hit myself. Okay. And that's Snaddle on the second attempt. So not bad. So we move on to Ardos, who leads with a Shadow Swallow, who almost always sets up Shadow Sky on the first turn, and an Alakazam, which unfortunately has just burnt me, so this is basically a dead attempt. I'm not going to be doing nearly as much damage as I need to, and on the second turn it used a Shadow Half, which is kind of annoying because now I'm really low on health. Out comes Heracross, and Hydro Pump finishes me off. Okay, well, I'm not going to bore you with all of the attempts in between because this actually took quite a bit of time, but basically I was relying too much on the Swallow luck using Shadow Half, where I should have just taken it down from the beginning. Because even though the Alakazam is a bit of a threat with the fact that it can burn or paralyze or freeze, it's not doing nearly as much damage as the Swallow could potentially do. So I'm just going to ignore it for now and take down the bigger threats, which are Kingdra and then also the Heracross, because if I get too slow, the Heracross is going to do a lot of damage to me. And on top of that, an Earthquake won't take it down in a single hit. And this is the only problem with this strategy, is that it gets kind of scary here, because both of these Pokemon have the potential to do a lot of damage to me. Thunder Punch gets a crit, and the Electabuzz actually goes for Shadow Half. Every other attempt until now, it's gone for Shadow Storm, so I don't know why it went for Shadow Half here. And I got a crit on both of them, so the Aggron was definitely wanting to take them both down. I go for a Protect here just to heal up a little bit. I go for Double Edge, not enough to take down the Snorlax, but it misses anyway. And I get a crit on the Snorlax too. So yeah, that took quite a few attempts, but that's alright. We move on to Gorgon once again, and I go for Double Edge to take down the Slowking, and then I go for Earthquake here, and I didn't expect the Aggron to actually use Protect, but it doesn't really matter because it goes down now. And the Walreign's not quite a one-shot. And then out comes Poliwrath. Now if the Walrein wasn't a one-shot, there's a good chance that the Poliwrath isn't going to be a one-shot. Which it isn't. But I'm able to take down the Walrein, and then it's just Mr. Mime. And one more Earthquake should take them both down. So, a usual easy Gorgon fight. And we move on to Eldis, who leads with a Manectric and a Ninjask. And the Ninjask is actually going for Dig, Protect, so it's not really that big of a threat at all. So I'm actually going to just kind of ignore it. I go for Protect here just to get rid of the Dig that it's going to use on me. And now I go for Ice Beam into the Salamence, which should take it down in a single hit. It does. Okay, well out comes Flygon now. And the Ninja should just go for another Dig here. So I go for Ice Beam. Why did it switch up its strategy? I don't think I've ever seen it do that. Okay, well it's not like Silverwind's all that big of a deal either though. Silverwind sucks. So now it's going for Silverwind Protect apparently. Okay. That's still fine I guess. I go for Ice Beam and don't quite take down the Marowak. It hits a Shadow End with the Thick Club item, so it's doing a ton of damage, even despite my 180 defense stat, but I take it down. And then out comes Lapras, and I go for Double Edge into it, because Silverwind really isn't doing that much damage, and it looks like it's going to be a two-shot. so a little bit of Fruity Pebble damage, but not enough to really do anything. I outspeed the Lapras, so I'm able to take it down. And then all that's left is the Ninjask. I go for Double Edge, I use the Silver Wind, and I take it down. Okay, well, before you can go on to the final battle, you have to fight the Big Box Legendary, Shadowluvia, which uses Shadow Storm on the first turn, doing nearly half my health. I go for a Protect here just to heal up what little bit of health I can. And I go for another Double Edge and take it down. And we move on to the final battle against Gorgon. I go for Double Edge, which with a crit can take down the Moltres. Doesn't really tell me much though. And for some reason the Rhydon's going for the Shadow Panic set. So hopefully with a few levels we'll be able to get out of its logic there. And it'll start just going for Shadow End. And Executor goes for Shadow Storm, taking me down. Well, I go for Double Edge here. And, of course, I take down the Moltres at level 78. Which is surprising when on the final battle at level 81, I still can't one-shot the Moltres. Yeah, so it's a pretty wide range, apparently. Which is really unfortunate. Anyway, I go for Earthquake here to take down the Rhydon, because it's definitely the bigger threat here after it uses Shadow Hold. Because then it's going to start using Shadow Panic. And then I go for Protect here just to heal up a bit. And I do actually need to take down the Moltres here, because I don't want to get burnt. And the Executor is just going to use Shadow Hold, because actually I don't know why it's going to use Shadow Hold, it just does. And then it uses Shadow Storm. So its behavior is kind of predictable after doing, up until this point, 13 attempts. Anyway, out comes Articuno. And now that Shadow Sky is up, I'm not going to be able to heal, so I want to stall it out a little bit. And here's the thing, I did this fight a whole bunch of times, basically got to this point a lot of times. But the thing is because I can't one-shot the Articuno or the Zapdos, I was kind of... I didn't really have a good strategy of what to do. And I think the only thing that got me through this battle was the fact that I got a critical hit on the Articuno. The freeze here is nice, but I don't think it was necessary. But then it's just the Tauros left. And the Tauros really isn't a threat. So I'm able to take it down in just a couple hits. And after this next Ice Beam, that'll be a victory for Aggron. So, let's go ahead and go over its stats. Aggron beat the game with a time of 12 hours, 36 minutes, and 40 seconds at level 81, with 44 losses. Most of those being to Greevil and random trainers, especially early on. Because of Aron's low special defense stat, it definitely lost a lot really early. Lairon wasn't so bad, and then Aggron just lost a lot to bosses, more so than anything, and bad confusion luck. So for the most part, I think it's a pretty decent Pokemon. The problem is that I think it definitely struggled too much against Greevil throughout the game, and it lost a lot of time in the early game because it's in the slow level up group, so it definitely took a lot more experience to actually level up. So a lot of the time in the early game, it was either Mount Battle or beating all the trainers in the Cypher base. So that took up a decent amount of time. And I kind of wonder if having a better nature would have helped there, having an attack up nature rather than a defense up. With that being said, I think Aggron definitely underperformed to what I had thought it was going to do, and that's because it has 3 weaknesses, 2 4x to ground and fighting, which are addressed by its really high defense stat, but then it's weak to water, which is only one thing to be weak to, so I really thought that it wasn't going to come into play too much. But as it turns out, just having a low special defense stat in general caused it a lot of issue. Anyway, with that being said, thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, consider subscribing and liking the video. And put down suggestions for Spooky Month in the comment section below. Oh, also, I never really addressed why I chose Aggron, and it's because it was a viewer suggestion. And I was looking at it, and I thought Aron kind of looked like the Jason mask, just a hockey mask. So I thought it would be a good fit here. So, yeah, spooky. Anyway, bye.